Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Hebrews 8 makes it so the opposition view feels ashamed and disgraced because they are. Hebrews 8 verse 1. The high priest of a new covenant. Now the main point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in the sanctuary, the true tabernacle set up by the Lord, not by a mere human being. Not by what? A mere government, a mere human being, a mere human individual, but set up by God. And where is Christ? At the right hand of God. The Lord's right hand is lifted high in Psalm 118. Why? Because all the nations surrounded me, but in the name of the Lord, spiritually, in principle, in martial art excellence, I cut them down. Seeing at the warrior hand, the strike hand, the spirit, to spear something, spirit and right hand, and sword of Scripture. Things that people couldn't dream of in their wildest dreams of besting me at in single combat because of my moral, martial, mental, and romantic greatness. There is no viable counterargument. So I'll keep this video short. We'll shoot through the next few verses and we'll get to 7 and we'll wrap it up. Every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, and so it was necessary for this one also to have something to offer. If he were on earth, he would not be a priest, for there are already priests who offer the gifts prescribed by the law. They serve at a sanctuary that is a copy and a shadow of what is in heaven. That is why Moses was warned when he was about to build the tabernacle, see to it that you make everything according to the pattern shown on the mountain. According to the pattern. But in fact, the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant of which? For I will, of which he is the mediator, basically. His covenant is superior to the old one, since the covenant is established on better promises. So I have some typos there. I don't think it's a coincidence that in all places in this key point there's typos. It has to do with their sabotage, but basically his covenant is superior to theirs. And verse 7 is key here. For if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. So there was something wrong with the first covenant with the Jews. And this has everything to do with the kingdom of heaven being taken away from them. And that goes back to my original argument. Going back years and years and years. That certain black people are the martial art order of God. Okay. Now, the covenant with the Jews, according to this Jew in the Bible named Paul, okay, had something wrong with it. Now, what was wrong with it? Let's go back to point number 1. Now, the main point of what we are saying is this. We do have such a high priest who sat down at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, and who serves in the sanctuary, the tabernacle set up by the Lord, not by a mere human being. The Abraham wasn't as great as Nimrod. Was part of what's wrong with it. Isaac and Jacob weren't as great. David wasn't as great. So the root and offspring, and it says in Isaiah, I believe, said, look to the mountain in which you were cut, right? The quarry in which you were cut. Say, look to where these ideas come from before Abraham. Before Abraham, I am. But Nimrod was a mightier warrior than Abraham. And Christ sat down at the warrior position, which is at the right hand of the mighty one. The right hand of the throne of God in heaven, of the majesty in heaven. So should somebody who merely reads scriptures and insists on what's right lead the human race spiritually at the right hand of God forever? Or should the top martial artist ever possible? Again, verse 7, for those of you who are throwing a fit or something. For if there had been nothing wrong with that first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. So the offspring of Nimrod failed to live up to his spirit. Like the Jews are said to be the people of Israel. Jacob changed his name to Israel, right? Israelites, Jews, Judah, a tribe of Israel. Does that mean that Israel in his best moments wasn't righteous? No, it doesn't mean that. Just because the masses of the Jews weren't righteous doesn't mean Israel in the story in his best moments wasn't righteous. So Nimrod, when he's a mighty warrior before God who goes beyond Jacob, he goes beyond Isaac, he goes beyond Abraham. King David did not want to go toe-to-toe with Nimrod in his glory. It says in Nahum, Cush in Egypt, where they overlap, had a boundless strength that goes beyond Nineveh. It goes beyond Israel. Because of the position in God's heart, in God's warrior order that Nimrod held, that the root of Nimrod, the stone of the mountain in which he was cut from, had held. The covenant was not good enough. There was something wrong with it because the people were not good enough. And it's overkilled by the Old Testament. The Jews should be very familiar with the countless rebukes aimed at the Jews from God. Where are the rebukes aimed at Nimrod in the Bible? Where are they? But there's countless of them aimed at the Jews. And in the end, it doesn't say that Jerusalem the Great has fallen, even though it makes it clear in Galatians 4 it fell. It says Babylon the Great has fallen. And there's a bridegroom, and there's a bride. And the kingdom of heaven was taken from the Jews. I am the bridegroom. The best of Cush, so to speak, but first and foremost the Son of God. And the bride is the idea of a receptive woman, a receptive city, a receptive grouping, a receptive spirit to the Son of God, one that obeys and submits. Psalm 45. Psalm 45. If you don't know that I'm right, you are so dumb and so evil. How could your heart be so callous and unfair and racially biased? The throne is established in righteousness, not in the opinion of some racially biased dog.